Steph Curry last night leading the Golden State Warriors to another win. They play Brooklyn tomorrow night, then a 7-game homestand after that. Here is Steph on the magic of playing at Madison Square Garden.
It's Madison Square Garden. It speaks for itself. This is a place that brings, it just naturally has great, unique, authentic basketball energy. And like the fans are unreal, like the who's who of Celebrity Row and all that, but just everybody's anticipating great basketball. And from my first game here in college to now, like it's always delivered. So, and for us on the Western Conference, we only get one chance here. And try to make the most of it.
And they did. Ian Eagle was on the call, TNT, Knicks, Warriors. What is it about the Garden, and why is it different?
There is a palpable buzz before the game even starts, and it's nothing that's being pumped through the speakers. It's not artificial in any way. It's real. There is something special and unique about it. Even during the lean years, you would go into the Garden, and maybe just the way the arena captures the sound. It just bounces in a certain manner. So as the game was about to get going, you could feel it. You could feel that energy. It's tangible. And I know what Steph is saying. It is special for him, and he makes it even more special when he's there because it creates an added layer of electricity.
How do you know when you've done a good job doing a game?
I know if I've covered the storylines. I know if I've met the moment. I know if I've hit the right beats. I think it's based on just doing so many games. There's a way to view it. For me, the amount of games that I do helps me because it keeps me in that mindset. It keeps me locked in. I don't ever drop off because I'm not off for 3 weeks and then I got to get back into it. I'm doing sometimes 5 games in a week, and there's a certain standard that comes with that. You want to do your best. It doesn't matter if it's a Wednesday night for a local Nets-Washington game or a Thursday night for a big Lakers-Boston game or a Sunday in the NFL or a Thursday night on the radio. It doesn't matter. You just get to a point where you can gauge it in the moment if you're doing your job correctly and you're hitting all the high notes.
I still find it interesting that when a player or team plays New York, they're playing the Garden. They're not playing the Knicks.
Yeah.
They're playing the Garden. I don't know if we do that at any other venue or any other sport. Can you think of anything where you go, now it used to be the Garden, Boston Garden.
Yeah.
Then it became like the Fleet Center and TD Bank, and so it kind of lost a little bit,
Yeah.
Playing the Crypt, maybe the Forum,
Yeah.
Great Western Forum, but I don't know if there's any, like Fenway, you don't say, oh, you're playing Fenway, you're playing the Red Sox. Even Yankee Stadium is not the original Yankee Stadium, even though the Garden's not the original Garden, but
yeah,
you're playing the Garden as opposed to, it's like you're a musical group.
Yeah.
We're on tour, and then we play the Garden.
Yeah, Billy Joel is no longer doing it once a month, but you're right. Billy Joel is playing the Garden, and the Warriors were playing the Garden. I don't know if it's an extension of Broadway in some way, that you're in New York and it's this historic venue. You're right about the ever-changing names. That is a part of it. That chips away at the mystique a bit. I remember I did a game years ago, NFL on CBS game in Oakland. And at that point, it was a revolving door of names. And literally, I'm not exaggerating, Dan, 15 minutes before kickoff, someone, I'm not sure if they were affiliated with the Raiders or the state, they walk in, they hand me a sheet of paper and they say, hey, just to let you know, we're going by this now. 15 minutes before the game, I go, the O.co? What? What is this? And that takes away from the sense of place and the sense of history. You're right. Even with the Boston Garden, once they went down that road, the Boston Garden became a thing of the past. And now you've got to rack your brain and say, what is it now? Is it TD Garden? What? It's still Madison Square Garden, named after, by the way, James Madison, the former president. That was the connection. I was going to use that over the weekend in regards to the St. John Seton Hall game and make the point that Bill Raftery was actually classmates with James Madison and that he knew him quite well, but we never got there.
Who is more unexplainable, Steph Curry's success or LeBron's?
Steph Curry. Steph Curry. He was the number 7 pick in the draft. There were major questions as to whether or not his style and approach would translate to the NBA. Would he get his shot off? Like, think about that for a moment. If we go back and check the scouting reports, it would say great three-point shooter, creative offensive player, but will the NBA be too physical for him? Is he big enough to handle the wear and tear of the NBA? Those were questions coming out of Davidson. That was the other part of it. He was coming out of Davidson. He was not coming out of Duke. His brother had gone from Liberty to Duke, so you saw him on a bigger stage and thought, oh, okay, he can do it. It'll translate. And obviously, he's had a nice career. Steph has had an all-time career. And I think at this stage, the rejuvenation that we're seeing with Jimmy Butler now on the team, Dan, I'm sensing that there's even a greater appreciation for Steph than ever before, because as you see these incredible athletes hit the NBA, these physical specimens, these Adonises, Steph, it just feels like he could be anybody, and he's obviously a terrific athlete and he's in great shape, but he would blend in if you didn't know who he was, and that's part of the charm of it. This guy is doing it in a manner that I don't know if we're going to see it again, the way he does it. And just again, Dan, my experience, they're playing in Brooklyn, so I'm going to see this for the second time this week. I just happened to walk out onto the court to my broadcast location as he was going through his warm-up, and the groundswell of people that want to watch him warm up, that to me says everything you need to know, that there is a special quality and people realize that this is just something a little different. This is just not a normal NBA player.
He's Ian Eagle. He was on the call last night, TNT Warriors Knicks. He's got the Warriors Nets tomorrow night, and then Michigan State coming up on Sunday. Is that right?
That is right. Thank you. I didn't know where I was going until you mentioned it, so I better book that flight.
Is there a backup plan in case you can't show up at a game?
Yeah, it's a hologram. We've worked that out. They have a soundboard of all my calls, and then they just project me onto the screen. We're actually trying to do that with Raph at this point. We don't even need him to be at the games. We just have onions on a loop, double order on a loop, and then you're good. You're good to go for the tournament.
Bill Raftery is, and people will find him entertaining on a game. He's a million times more entertaining when he's not doing a game. And that's saying a lot. But the first time I met Raph, I was in Atlanta, Craig Sager's bar, Jocks and Jill.
That's right.
And I just got through, I was working at CNN, and I went over to Sager's bar. I come in, and Raph has the corner of the bar. As you walk in, the corner of the bar, there had to be 25 beers. And he had ordered 25 beers.
Yes.
And it was just, if you came up to talk to him, just grab a beer. That's the first time I met him. And he is a delight.
Can I interject one thing, Dan? Because it just spurred a memory of mine. We were in Seattle for a net game, and we ended up going to dinner, large group, and then the group got a little smaller. We went out to a bar afterwards, and we got to the bar, and literally 10 minutes into our stay at the bar, they call out, "Last call." And I see like Bill's whole demeanor change in that moment. And he just leaves the group and he goes to the bar, and he obviously gets in an order for last call. And normally last call, what ends up happening? They still let you hang around a little bit. They did not. They kick us out of this bar. We spill out into the street. It's not even that late out. And Bill's a bit upset about it, and I understand. They cut off his evening. So he's wearing a long trench coat. And we get outside now, and our director, who passed away, great guy, Dave Hagan, he shows us that he snuck one beer out to the street, and we all laugh like, oh, that's amazing. Raph opens his trench coat. He has 8 beers that he has snuck out, 2 in each side pocket, 2 on the interior in his pants. This guy is at another level.
I'm wondering, I brought this up when I interviewed Suny Vaccaro. I said that I hope that he would get in the Basketball Hall of Fame contributions to the game. And there's certain, like Dick Vitale, contributions, and Bill Raftery.
Yes.
Because he was a former college coach.
He's in. He's in.
But Suny Vaccaro is not.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we look at the shoe business and the seedy underbelly of this, and that's like he had contributions to the game. He signed Michael Jordan. He signed Kobe, almost signed LeBron. And you got these coaches who got paid. I mean, he changed college basketball. You may say maybe not for the better, but where do you stand on contributions to the game and, people getting inducted?
Yeah, he should be in. He should be in. He played a large role in the development of the game. And you're right. There were some things happening that nobody was completely aware of, and it changed the sport. But it was inevitable. If it wasn't him, it was going to be somebody else. I do think the fact that he had a big personality was a big part of what made college basketball what it was. And I don't know if that's lost now a little bit, just like everything in life, as it goes to a different level financially, business-wise, commerce. You lose a little bit of what made it so special. But the personalities made college basketball. Coaching personalities, behind the scenes, broadcasting personality, larger than life. Dick Vitale obviously played a big role. Raph, as you mentioned. And I think it is a little bit of a lost art now when it comes to sports because it's much more corporate. And we're not going to have that kind of visceral reaction like we used to have to people that had the impact that Suny had. He belongs in there, no doubt about it.
Your thoughts on Rick Pitino still making it doesn't matter. He's on the short list of greatest basketball coaches of all time. I mean, he really is. The Celtics, he couldn't control the roster, didn't get Tim Duncan, but every place, like we plugged him in at Iona and we thought, oh, that's a cute little story. And he wins.
He wins. Dan, he wins. This is who he is. And as the rules have changed, look, he's adapted to them. He recognized way back when you may have to do things in your way, in a certain manner. Maybe you bend it when the situation calls for it. I think that Rick was so far ahead of his time in the 80s that eventually others picked up on it and figured it out. But the thing about Rick that still strikes me to this day is he always adjusts. He's just a great coach. He's an incredible motivator. He's a tremendous tactician. His X's and O's are through the roof. He's smart. He gets it. He understands the media side of it. He gets all of it. And you could find great coaches that get some of it. He understands every aspect of this job. And the fact that he's done it so quickly at St. John's. I was at the Garden this past weekend. It was sold out, Dan. It is a happening again. You have to go back really to my youth in the 80s when it felt like this around New York. They've had good teams. They've had competitive teams. They haven't had this. They haven't had this kind of buzz and this kind of chain reaction in the city. And it's Rick that's done it.
Safe travels to Brooklyn tomorrow for the for the Nets tilt with Golden State, and then just to let you know, on Sunday you have to do Michigan and Michigan State.
Hold on,
Michigan State.
Michigan. That is in East Lansing.
East Lansing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they got a player. Jason Richardson's son, Jace
Jace.
He might be a top 5 pick in the draft.
Yeah, I had them earlier this season at the Garden against Rutgers. He was coming off the bench. He is not coming off the bench
How do
anymore.
you explain Rutgers will have 2 of the top 4 players drafted and may not make the tournament?
Yeah, chemistry means so much. You played basketball growing up. It was important to you. I'm sure there were years where you thought, oh, man, we have great individual talent, and then it didn't fit.
It's amazing.
And unfortunately, it just doesn't fit or it doesn't translate into wins. But you're going to hear about those 2 guys, Harper and Bailey, for a long time because they're going to play in the NBA for a long time. But they're going to look back at the fact that they didn't take advantage of the opportunity in college, and there's nothing they can do about it.
It's like
now.
Ben Simmons didn't make the tournament at LSU.
Didn't make the tournament.
Yeah.
Yep, at LSU. I actually had a game of his freshman year. I was wowed by his skill set. Their team just wasn't that good.
Tell Tom Izzo I said hello.
I will.
Yeah,
I will.
Please do.
He's great.
Tell him I said hello.
Done. I will say it.
Tell him it's, getting about that time that maybe he steps down and lets somebody else.
I'm not going to say that.
Oh, no,
part.
don't say
No,
that.
I'm going to. Hey, Dan Patrick says hello, and maybe it's time to step aside.
He would appreciate it. He's got a sense.
He probably would.
Yeah. Of course, I'm going to deny it when he says, why did you
exactly.
I didn't say it. I said,
I'll produce.
You
I'll produce the
okay.
tape.
All right, thanks.
The tape doesn't lie.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, that's Ian Eagle.